Welcome back, MTN Giants podcast. The Giants, I'll tell you what a difference. I was going to say what a difference a week could make, but it literally was 4 days ago when they last played, and we're talking about that Saints game and how disappointing it was. 5 straight turnovers on 5 straight possessions. A game they should have won, of course. Everybody's writing the eulogy of Joe Shane and Brian Dable. Darius Slayton's out with the hamstring injury. Of course, Neighbors is out. The Giants are sending out Lil Jordan Humphrey as their starting wide receiver on Thursday against the defending champion Eagles, who are coming off of a loss of their own. And Philly, to no surprise, was favored to win this game by over a touchdown, 7.5 points. And I'll be honest, I gave the Giants almost no chance to win this game. I figured it would be ugly. I honestly, if you told me that a team won this game by a score of 34-17, I would have said there's about a 98% chance it was Philly who won the game. And I feel bad that I doubted this group, but after what we saw last week and what we've seen the entire year and what we've seen the past decade from this organization, it was tough to believe they'd win this game. And on top of it, the Giants, it came out today, I think Monty on Twitter pointed this out, but the Giants hadn't won a Thursday night football game since 2015. All I remember from that game was Odell Beckham running a post route for a touchdown where he ripped the ball away from the defender. That's the only thing I remember. Like, it was a very long time ago. This team lost their last 10 games on Thursday night, and they hadn't beat the Eagles when they started their starters since 2021, which was the game that Tay Crowder intercepted Jalen Hurts in the end zone. That's what I remember from that game. They beat Philly in like the final week of 2023, but the Eagles were starting Marcus Mariota, and I think Quez Watkins was their leading wide receiver that game, so I don't really want to count that. But something had to give, and something just felt weird about tonight. Of course, Jalen Carter was ruled out right before the game. I saw that he was ruled out mainly because they were afraid of the MetLife turf. I saw Bobby Skinner put that on Twitter. I'm not sure if that was like him just kind of trying to be funny or trick us, or if that was a genuine report. But if that's the case, then hey, MetLife Stadium finally has a home field advantage for the first time. You know, opponents are keeping out their best defensive player because they're afraid of our turf. Unfortunately, that same turf took away Malik Neighbors' season, but hey, at least we got one game out of it. We got the Eagles to sit out their best defensive player. And as I continue to ramble here in this intro, I mean, this might have been my favorite Giants win in like probably 9 years. I mean, honestly, since 2016, there were a lot of great wins that season. I mean, 2022 was fun. Of course, like week 1 against Tennessee, the playoff win, but something about that season always seemed like fluky to me. Like I just knew it wasn't going to last. This win tonight felt like a legitimate win. Not to take anything away from that 2022 squad, but this win in like all 3 phases, the Giants killed the Eagles. The Giants offense was passing the ball up and down the field all game. Cam Scatterboo, maybe at first it was only like 3-4 yard gains, but as the game went on, and I think it might have been Herb Street pointed this out, Cam Scatterboo is the type of back that's going to wear on you as the game goes on. Those 3-4 yard pickups turn into 7-8 yard pickups, then 10-11 yard pickups, and he just was going crazy in the fourth quarter. Then on defense, I mean, look, Shane Bowen, I think, called a better game. It wasn't perfect. There were a lot of soft coverages and situations that I didn't think made sense to play soft coverage. And there were some breakdowns. There was the one breakdown where Devontae Smith ran a drag route, picked up a wide open first down. And also Devontae Smith should have had a 90-yard touchdown if Jalen Hurts doesn't overthrow him. And that could have changed the entire game. So if not for that overthrow, I'm not sure how this game ends up going, but that was a massive miss in this game. And then special teams. I have to say the Giants special teams was awesome. I think this was the third quarter. They put in A.J. Dillon to return kicks because of the mistake made by Tank Bigsby. And A.J. Dillon has the ball hit off of him and go out of bounds. And that was, once again, great field position for the Giants. And even Gunnar Olszewski had a couple good returns. So, I mean, the special teams was great. As I said, all 3 phases, the Giants beat the crap out of a relatively healthy Eagles team. At least, you know, offensively, Landon Dickerson's out. Quinyon Mitchell missed over half the game. And then, of course, Jalen Carter. But still, this is still a really good Eagles team without those players. And to beat the crap out of them for their second straight loss and on the day that Saquon Barkley drops his documentary. It's just a great feeling. As I said, maybe my favorite Giants win in a very long time, like close to a decade. And also, I mean, maybe the biggest takeaway from this game that we'll get to, of course, in depth after this, but Jaxson Dart might be that guy. When I first watched Dart, there was a lot to like. The throwing motion was very smooth. I thought the ball placement was excellent. But when you have those Lane Kiffin quarterbacks, it is a concern because it's not really like a pro-style offense. But a lot of what the Giants are doing now in the NFL kind of emulates what that offense was like at Ole Miss. Maybe not a direct comparison, but you do see some similarities. And I came into last year's class liking Cam Ward the most. I liked Shedeur Sanders second, and I had Jaxson Dart third. And really, I think the Giants navigated the draft perfectly. I think taking Abdul Carter third overall was the right move. I wanted a quarterback as bad as anyone, but after, the couple days before the draft, we hear about maybe the quarterback market wasn't so hot. The Saints were not going to take one at their pick. I think it was pick 9. And the Steelers had no interest in Shedeur Sanders at their pick, which was like 20. And the Giants play it perfectly. They take Abdul Carter at 3. Then they trade back up into the first round. I thought it was going to be for Shedeur Sanders. And personally, that's what I wanted. But there's a reason why I'm a YouTuber and not an NFL GM. And they go ahead and take Jaxson Dart, a guy that Brian Daboll is obsessed with, and maybe he had to sell Joe Shane and the rest of the front office on Jaxson Dart, but Brian Daboll was very confident in his quarterback evaluation, and I could say 3 starts into his career, I absolutely love what I've seen from Jaxson Dart. I mean, we'll go, as I said, more in depth into it in a bit, but everything we've seen from these 3 starts is incredible. He's scored a touchdown in all 3 games on the opening drive, which I saw a stat that I think he and Patrick Mahomes are the only quarterbacks to score 3 straight touchdowns on their first 3 opening drives since like 1991. And then I saw that graphic where it said Jaxson Dart is one of 3 quarterbacks now in NFL history to rush for at least 50 rushing yards in their first 3 starts. The other 2 were Jalen Hurts and Lamar Jackson. And even last week, yes, I know they had the 5 turnovers. I was defending Jaxson Dart for his interceptions. I like the fact, or I love the fact, that he didn't just throw the ball out of bounds on 4th down. He actually tried to take a shot. It didn't work. And then on the other interception, the second one, the guy, Bo Collins, stopped running the route. So I think as a Giants fan, you have to be thrilled with what we've seen from Jaxson Dart so far through his first 3 NFL starts. Now, if I told you that Jaxson Dart was going to start out 2-1 as a starter, you would probably think one of those wins was against the Saints. Turns out it was not that way. You just can't predict this sport sometimes. But nonetheless, beating the Chargers and then winning tonight in a high-scoring game where you had 34 offensive points, that is just spectacular. And it was like a team win. I just feel like, could this be a culture-shifting game? It could be, because it felt like in New Orleans on Sunday, it was rock bottom. And now we have a 4-day turnaround where you beat the defending champions and play great football in all 3 phases. Your rookie quarterback looks like a stud. He was making the right reads, placing the ball perfectly. He was bouncing around in the pocket, evading pass rushers, running for 58 yards. Had that great rushing touchdown on the first drive. You have Cam Skattebo, your 4th-round rookie running back, running like a madman, running guys over. Sent Zach Bond flying like 5 yards in the 3rd quarter. And then at wide receiver, didn't really have much. Jalen Hyatt, Wan'Dale Robinson, Lil Jordan Humphrey, of course Theo Johnson, who let him down with a drop in this game, but made a nice catch after that. So there's so much to love about this game, and we'll get into a lot. This is probably going to be a long video, but as always, I hope you guys enjoy. Of course, leave a like, subscribe, and let's get into it. I guess the one downside, as I'm thinking now, is they probably should be like 4-2 right now. Like if they close out that Dallas game like they were supposed to, and don't turn the ball over 5 times last week, we might be in a much different situation right now. So still 2-4, and of course a very tough schedule coming up. And that's another funny thing about this game is after that loss last week, I think a lot of us, and even myself included on Sunday night, we're sitting here thinking, when the hell are the Giants going to win their next game? We're looking at this schedule thinking, is it not going to be till week 15, week 16? Are they going to win 3 games this year? And sure, they might only win 4 or 5 games this year, but it's just funny how that works, how we all thought like it's going to take a very long time to win a game, and then not even a week later, they get a win. For the Giants offense, 67 plays, 386 offensive yards, 5.5 yards per play, 5 touchdowns in this game. I want to see their third down conversion rate because that was looking tremendous. They were 11 of 16 as compared to the Eagles 1 of 9. And Jaxson Dart specifically 17 of 25, 195 passing yards, 7.8 yards per attempt. 1 touchdown, no turnovers, sacked twice, and of course added 58 yards on the ground on 13 carries and a rushing touchdown. And I know I've gone over this the past couple weeks. I mean, the rushing is here to stay. And I said this last week as well. That was one of my main questions leaving his first start was, is the rushing going to stay with Jaxson Dart's game or was that just a one-off? And he is absolutely going to keep doing it. He's going to keep rushing for around 50 yards a game. And obviously you have to be a little concerned because he's gone to the medical tent a few times already, but as long as he stays healthy, I mean, that added dynamic to his game of using his legs and the way he can bounce around the pocket and really feel pass rushers behind him. Like some guys just have a great feel for the game and some quarterbacks just know the right time to evade a pocket. And it seems like Jaxson Dart has that like sixth sense. I mean, it's been great so far. There were a couple times tonight where I'm like, oh, there's a sack, and then he somehow gets out of it. I thought the ball placement was tremendous in this game. He could have had a touchdown to Jalen Hyatt where Hyatt tried to catch it one-handed, but he got interfered with, so the Giants got the ball to 1. Scatterboo punched it in. But on that throw to Jalen Hyatt, like you could not have put it in a better spot. Outside shoulder, just right in stride, great loft on the ball. There was the one where he basically threw across his body, I think it was in the first quarter, to Lil Jordan Humphrey, where that ball goes right over, I think it was Adoree Jackson, and just goes right through the arms of Lil Jordan Humphrey. So that ball should have been caught. Then he has the one where he lofts it to Theo Johnson on a seam route, and the ball goes right through Theo Johnson's hands and hits off his shoulder pad, and that should have been caught. So even on some of these plays where Jaxson Dart threw incompletions, they were passes that should have been caught and I thought were great throws. The one like really bad throw I saw Dart make in this game was one that was I think in the first quarter. It was to Wan'Dale Robinson on a crosser, and while it did get completed, it was thrown a little behind him, but no harm, no foul. I mean, the pass was completed. They picked up I think 10 to 15 yards on that play, but that was really it. I mean, that was like one bad pass I saw in this game. And it's hard to really nitpick anything bad that Jaxson Dart did in this game. So I thought he played tremendous. Cam Scatterboo, he looked great, just shy of 100 yards, 98 rushing yards, 5.2 a carry, 3 rushing touchdowns. His longest run was 18 yards. Singletary had 3 for 10. Tyrone Tracy 4 for 6 on the ground. Receiving wise, we had Wan'Dale Robinson play a nice game here. As I said in the last couple of videos with neighbors down, no more 5 for 30s, no more 4 for 40s. I need you to actually step up and play like a second round pick. And that's what he did in this game. Like he played well, 6 catches, 84 yards, had that touchdown for 35 yards. He tiptoed down the sideline, followed his blocks, got in the end zone. That was great. He caught that awesome slant pass on like a 3rd and 5. He got lit up after it, but he held on to the ball. Like he's tough in traffic. I do like Wan'Dale and his ability to catch the ball in traffic. Lil Jordan Humphrey, elevated from the practice squad, had 8 targets, had a couple of deep shots, 4 for 55. Jaxson Dart, on I think it was the first drive, he said, F it, Lil Jordan Humphrey down there somewhere. He gave him a 50-50 ball, and he caught it over Keely Ringo. Theo Johnson had that one nice catch for 22 yards, but nothing really else. Jalen Hyatt actually had a really nice catch at one point in this game. It was to get a first down. It was like a hands catch. There was contact on the play. And a guy like him, it's tough to catch through contact, but he held on to it, got the first down. He almost had a touchdown once again. He tried to catch it one-handed, being interfered with, but he ends the day with 3 catches, 17 yards. That was his first catch of the year, and that was pretty much it. Only 5 different guys caught the football for the Giants in this game. Cam Scatterboo had 2 catches for 12 yards, so not much there. I figured we'd see some more Daniel Bellinger in this game. Didn't really see much of him, and I thought the Giants' offensive line really played well. I mean, of course, it helps to have Jaxson Dart, who can dance back there and get away from pass rushers, and once again just has basically eyes in the back of his head and knows when to get out of the pocket. That stuff will make your offensive line look better, but I thought the run game was working pretty well. It seemed like they were getting decent push. It sucked to see John Michael Schmitz leave the game. I know he got checked for a concussion. He might have got hit in the nose or something. I forget what the injury was, but even like Austin Schlottman came in at center and he played pretty well. I heard Greg Van Roten brought up a couple times. He made good plays. Every time I watch Andrew Thomas on an island, he looked great. Like, he's allowed no pressures, I think, so far this year in his 4 games. And I think outside of Illuminor, who had a false start at some point, I think it was like later in the game, so it didn't really matter, but outside of that, like, it seemed like he played well. And it's just crazy, like, when you have the right quarterback, it's crazy how much can change. I was saying this about Daniel Jones for years, and I know people made a lot of excuses for Jones. The offensive line's not good, Jason Garrett sucks, the receivers suck, and blah, blah, blah. But the argument from people on my side was that, like, getting the right quarterback just changes everything. And I think so far with Jaxson Dart, we are seeing that to a degree. He went out here tonight with, I would say, an average offensive line, really no weapons to speak of. I mean, yeah, Cam Skattebo, solid running back so far, but it's not like Cam Skattebo is Saquon Barkley. He's not Jahmyr Gibbs. He's not Bijan Robinson. And technically, his number one receiver was a 5'9" slot guy who weighs like 170 pounds. So to go out there and do that against this type of team, that's what really good quarterbacks can do. Like, they elevate the guys around them. We've been saying that for years, and that was always an anti-Jones argument, is that, like, good quarterbacks elevate guys around them. And that's what Jaxson Dart's doing. Like, it's a thing of beauty, and this is what we've wanted for so many years. The guy has aura, he has swag, he has, you know, like, all the teammates hyped up about him, and I think he just fires everybody up. And so far, it looks great. I mean, I think the one tiny concern I have so far, because we haven't seen much of it, is the explosive plays in the passing game. I think tonight was the first time Jaxson Dart had a pass go over 20 yards. He had a couple. I think the one 50-50 ball to Lil Jordan Humphrey, and the one to Wan'Dale Robinson that he took in for a touchdown from 35 yards. I guess my one concern would be how good is the deep accuracy? Because while Jaxson Dart's very accurate, I don't think his arm is tremendous. Obviously, it's a good enough NFL arm. I think it's like Jalen Hurts, honestly. I think he has an arm that's pretty equal to Jalen Hurts. We know Hurts is not a great deep ball thrower, and I kind of see Jaxson Dart as the same way. But I'd much rather have a guy that's accurate than a guy that just has a cannon and can't locate. It's like the Anthony Richardson argument. Like, I love that guy and I've wanted him to work out in Indy so badly. And sure, he could throw the ball 80 yards, but when you can't locate a 8-yard out route, that's going to be an issue. And I have no concerns with Jaxson Dart when it comes to that intermediate game, the short game, dancing around the pocket, picking up extra yards. He had that one play where he dove for a first down, basically head first. It was like he was doing a plank. So I love what I saw on offense. I hope they have their quarterback of the future. And looking at the defense in this game, as I said, there were some things from Shane Bowen where I was like, kind of wish that wasn't the case, because they were playing so conservative in some situations, and there were some miscommunications. But obviously, Brian Burns, a massive game, had 2 sacks on 3rd downs. I thought Dane Belton showed up a couple times, played well. He forced a fumble as well. Cordell Flott, the big interception, he undercuts the out route. And Jalen Hurts had the longest active streak going of not throwing an interception, and Cordell Flott puts an end to that. Tyler Nubin even showed up in a positive way a few times. No passes defended, no interceptions, but he made a couple key tackles in the flat. Drew Phillips had a tackle for loss. Paulson Adebo had that one pass interference and almost had another illegal contact. But overall, he did a pretty nice job in this game. Bobby Okereke even looked alright in coverage at times. He had 1 pass defended in this game. Kayvon Thibodeau got in the backfield a lot. Dexter Lawrence, pretty quiet for the most part, but I feel like if you watch the film, maybe that'll tell a different story. Javon Holland was around the ball. He had a pass breakup in this game. Roy Robertson Harris had that nice tackle for a loss on Saquon Barkley. And I think we saw some more blitzing in this game. Like, that was good to see. And even Abdul Carter, while I don't think he recorded a stat in this game, he still had moments of beating his guy, like, right off the jump. He had that 1 rep against Lane Johnson that I saw Bobby Skinner post. And there was also a play where Abdul got in the backfield like right away, and it pretty much disrupted the entire play. So he won't get credit for that in the stat sheet, but if you go back and watch that play, he pretty much made that one happen. And of course, they played a lot of Cordell Flott in this game. I don't even know if Deonte Banks played defense in this game. There was a report that Cordell Flott might just play every down, like, because they were doing that weird thing where they would play Flott on the first 2 downs and put in Deonte Banks on 3rd down, which seemed to make no sense to me. But it seemed like in this game they went away from that and just gave Cordell Flott every snap. Maybe not every single snap, but he was playing majority of this game. And it seemed like for the most part he did well. I mean, there was that 1 breakdown or maybe 2 breakdowns with Devontae Smith both times where he ran the drag route and got free, and that seemed like a miscommunication. And on the deep ball, he might have thought he had safety help from Javon Holland, who never got over there, but luckily, once again, it was overthrown by Jalen Hurts. Over to the notes section, I wrote down the Giants had not won their last 10 Thursday night games. I was skeptical once again coming into this game. The opening kickoff did not reach the landing zone, so the Eagles started on their own 40-yard line. Saquon Barkley got 18 yards on the first play. Of course, that was his longest rush of the year. So 6 weeks into the season, it took one touch against the Giants to surpass his longest run of the year. And Saquon has not really been the same guy we saw last year, not even close. I'm not saying he's like physically diminished, but coming into tonight, he was on pace for like 900 rushing yards, and I don't think it got much better. Anyway, he rushed for 13 yards on the next play. Drew Phillips had that tackle for loss on Jalen Hurts trying to run a read option that forced a 3rd and 10. Brian Burns in coverage, he tackled Dallas Goedert. That forced a field goal from Jake Elliott from 42 yards. Of course, he made it. The Giants' first drive, Gunnar Olszewski had a nice return to the 46-yard line. There was a dropped interception by an Eagle defender named Hunt. I forget his first name, but Theo Johnson was running like a slant, never got his head turned around. I feel like that one's kind of on Theo. Like, can you please look back at your quarterback? You're out of your break. Like, can you at least turn your head and help the guy out? So luckily that was dropped. There was a 3rd and 7 false start. I believe it was on little Jordan Humphrey, because I think they said number 89, so that made it 3rd and 12. And then, of course, Humphrey makes up for it as Dart throws the 50-50 ball. It's, a 6'4 receiver against Keely Ringo. That was the longest pass of Dart's career to that point. So that got the first down. Dart extended a 2nd and 8. He dodged 2 pass rushers, but overthrew Wan'Dale Robinson running a drag. But once again, he showed that ability early to get away from pass rushers. I liked what I saw. Of course, I wish he actually made a better throw. So that might have been like the one missed throw he had in this game. Then on 3rd and 8, Dart was basically one-on-one with Zach Bond, captain. I think he was he an all-pro last year, or at least a pro bowler? And Dart jukes the crap out of him, one-on-one, 19-yard touchdown. Giants score on their first drive, a 6-play, 54-yard drive. Dart once again has scored a touchdown on all 3 of his opening drives. Him and Pat Mahomes are the only guys to do that in the past 35 years or something. Eagles' second drive, Tyler Nubin had a good tackle on Dallas Goedert. There was a big tackle for loss on Saquon Barkley. Brian Burns got there first, and then Saquon tried to spin out of it and landed right in DJ Davidson's arms. And DJ Davidson also got hurt in this game. I don't think he ever returned, so hopefully with the long week of rest, he'll be fine for next week, but we'll see. Then on 3rd and 8, Brian Burns had a sack on Jalen Hurts. He was running a stunt next to Abdul Carter. Once again, Abdul Carter, no stats recorded, but I do think he made a difference in this game. Then I saw this Art Stapleton tweet where he said that this was the first time since 2009 where the Giants have scored a touchdown on their opening possession in 3 straight games. Pretty embarrassing to hear that, but it's a cool stat to break, so that's good. Giants' second drive, they hit Wan'Dale Robinson on a crosser. That was the throw that Dart kind of threw behind him, but he was wide open. And Wan'Dale hit the ground, but no one touched him, so he got back up and got 5 more yards, so that was smart. There was the great play where Dart extends the play. He finds Wan'Dale Robinson in the flat, scores from 35 yards out. Extra point was no good from Academy, but it was 13-3 Giants at that point. And it was at this time where I felt kind of like some flashbacks to the game against the Saints, because I believe the Giants were also up 14-3 in that game. This time it was 13-3, but a very similar start. They have a great offensive outing early. Things are looking great defensively, but then you're concerned about the rest of the game and the remaining 3 quarters and how they would look. Eagles' third drive, Paulson Adebo had good coverage on A.J. Brown. They had to throw the ball out of bounds. Next play, Hurts took a deep shot to A.J. Brown against Adebo once again. But this time Adebo, who I thought maybe got his head turned a second too late. I thought it was pretty good coverage, but the ball landed perfectly. A.J. Brown made a great catch on the sidelines, so that's kind of just a great player making a great play. Then Hurts has all day to throw, had Dallas Goedert for a big gain up the middle. Devontae Smith had a first down picked up over the middle. He had Bobby Okereke in coverage, so that, of course, is a tall task for Okereke. Then they had that wild play to Dallas Goedert where they had 3 wide receivers out wide. Not out wide, but they were bunched up together. They motioned Dallas Goedert in. He catches it. He uses those guys to basically walk in the end zone. It wasn't walk in because Javon Holland kind of had him wrapped up, but Dallas Goedert's momentum took him in the end zone. So that made it 10-13 Giants. This next Giants drive was pretty bad. It was a no gain on a run. Dart took a sack, and there was a short slant to Lil Jordan Humphrey, and that resulted in a punt. Eagles' fourth drive, this was the play where Abdul Carter got in the backfield quickly, and Hurts had to slide down at the line of scrimmage for no gain. 3rd and 7, Devontae Smith was just wide ass open on a drag. Must have been a miscommunication once again. He picked up a first down. There was a great pass breakup. This was a great play by Javon Holland, who I think, I said this maybe a couple videos ago, where I wasn't too satisfied with Javon Holland's play on the ball, because when he came over from Miami, he was advertised to be a guy that was a playmaker on the ball. And so far, throughout the first 4 games or so, we had not seen that with the Giants. But this was a great play where Hurts was rolling to his right, Saquon was following him, then Saquon reversed and went back to the middle. Javon Holland had to lay out and dive and knock the ball away. But that was a great pass breakup by him. This is when the Eagles decided to run a 4th and inches tush push. They barely get it. The right guard, Tyler Steen, clearly false starts. No ref caught it and called it. So that stood. They run 4 straight tush pushes. The entire internet was very upset about it. And it was almost an 8-minute drive, and the Eagles scored a touchdown. This is when DJ Davidson got hurt. And at this point, the Eagles had a 17-13 lead. I was thinking to myself, all right, it was a fun start, but it seems like Philly's going to probably pull away now. But then the opposite happened. So Quinyon Mitchell leaves the game with a hamstring, never returns. There was a 3rd and 6, good timing curl to Lil Jordan Humphrey. It was good chemistry. We know Dart and Humphrey kind of have some chemistry over the summer. Giants ran a 0 blitz, or the Eagles ran a 0 blitz. Jaxson Dart saw it from the start. He found Theo Johnson on a quick out for about a 4 or 5 yard gain. And that's good stuff to see from a rookie quarterback. I know it's simple, it's 4 or 5 yards, but you see that the all-out blitz is coming. You have to find your hot read, and that's once again another Daniel Jones thing I did not like about him, because he was never good at that. But good on Dart for finding the hot read and just getting the ball for a 4 or 5 yard gain. Jalen Hyatt had his first catch of the year, 3rd down. He just a tough catch, a hands catch, played through contact. Dart had a 2nd and 4. He had crazy elusiveness on this play. This was the play I thought he was going to take a sack. He started out bouncing to his right, shifted back to the left. He ran to the left sideline for a first down. They ran a quarterback sneak on 3rd and 1. They made the Eagles use all of their timeouts in the first half, so that was good. Then Dart threw the floater to Lil Jordan Humphrey. It was a great pass in my opinion, great loft on it. Couldn't hang on. It might have been broken up by an Eagles safety, but still, I thought Humphrey could have caught it. And then Scadaboo runs in basically untouched to make it 20-17 Giants. This was the Eagles' final drive before halftime. Tank Bigsby has that awful kick return down to the 6, like he fumbled it, went back in the end zone to get the ball, and then came out, got tackled at the 6. But then Saquon ran for 19 yards. They got that field position right back. There was a good pass breakup for Dane Belton on Dallas Goedert in the flat. Brian Dable called a very dumb timeout here. This was when the Eagles were trying to get set. The wide receivers were not set. There was 1 second left on the play clock. They had no timeouts left. And for some reason, the Giants do them a favor and call a timeout of their own. But luckily, Jalen Hurts, for some reason, slides in bounds and the clock runs out. So they went to halftime up 20-17. Giants' first drive out of half, there was that 3rd and 2. They throw to Theo Johnson up the seam. It went through his arms, basically, off his shoulder pad. I thought Dart made a good throw. Unfortunately, it was not caught. Philly's first drive in the 3rd quarter, Kayvon had a great tackle for loss on Saquon Barkley. He absorbed a hit from the fullback and just kept moving. And once again, I thought Kayvon played a nice game here. And then we had the busted coverage play where Cordell Flott maybe expected safety help from Javon Holland. Never happened. And Jalen Hurts overthrows Devontae Smith for what should have been a 90-yard touchdown. Giants' second drive in the second half, Scadaboo had that halfback dive, picked up a 3rd and 1. There was also a face mask to add 15 yards. Dart went down the left sideline for Lil Jordan Humphrey. There was illegal contact on Keely Ringo, and Humphrey ran kind of one of those out-and-up routes, and Ringo was pretty much got in his way, and that was illegal, of course, so Giants benefited there. Dart ran a good quarterback keeper with Tyrone Tracy. He was reading Azeez Ojulari, our old friend, and Ojulari was trying to catch up to Dart. I guess he eventually did, but he gained like 7 yards. Then John Michael Schmitz got hurt. That sucked. He had a towel over his face, went back to the locker room, never came back in. Dart turns the corner and dives headfirst for a first down, near the first down marker on the top of the screen. That was a great play. Then Cam Scatterbo trucks Zach Baun, who had a tough night, I guess, in this one. He had the play with Jaxson Dart where he got juked out of his shoes, then got ran over by Cam Scatterbo in the second half. Then Scatterbo has that great effort play where he reaches the ball over the goal line. For some reason, the play was blown dead, but then after replay assist, they're like, oh yeah, he clearly scored a touchdown. Like, oh, thanks, guys. Yeah, he clearly scored. So not sure why that happened, but that made it 27-17 Giants, and at this point, it felt kind of real. It was like they might actually pull this one off. Philly's next drive, A.J. Brown had that comeback route. They had to challenge it because it was ruled complete, and the ball was bobbled. The Giants won that challenge, so good coverage there by Adebo. Bowen sends a blitz. Hurts slides for about 3 yards. That forces a 3rd and 7. Then Brian Burns gets his second sack of the night. It was a huge one. Forces an Eagles punt. 3rd and 2. Jaxson Dart hits Wan'Dale Robinson perfectly in stride against Marcus Epps, who just came in the game. The Giants at that point were 8 for 10 on 3rd downs. They had an Austin Schlottman false start on 3rd and 3, made it 3rd and 8. This was maybe my favorite Jaxson Dart play in this game. So the Eagles pretty much sent an all-out blitz, and Jaxson Dart absorbed the hit. He knew he was going to get hit. He took the hit and hits Theo Johnson in stride beautifully on like a corner route, and Theo Johnson picks up 22 yards. Like, to see the blitz coming and to know where you're going to go with this ball and to throw it with such touch and anticipation to Theo Johnson, who picked up 22, that might have been my favorite Jaxson Dart play of the night. Then Jaxson Dart, he steps up in the pocket, takes a sack, gets injured. It was scary at first, but then he jogged off, went to the tent, got checked out. Cam Scatterbo went in the tent. Brian Dable went in the tent. They were all getting kicked out of the tent. Russell Wilson came in on 3rd and 9. He skipped the pass in the ground from Jalen Hyatt, where I think Russ was expecting a slant because the camera panned to Russ and he was like going like this because I think he expected a slant. So clearly those two were not on the same page. Eagles' next drive, Roy Robertson Harris had that nice tackle for loss on Saquon, made it a 3rd and 12. Then the Eagles had a dump off to Saquon, picked up 10 yards. The Eagles had to punt. Then Jaxson Dart comes back out from the tent. Jalen Hyatt almost made a great catch again against Adoree Jackson, but the ball hit the ground. I thought watching it on the broadcast view that he caught it, but the referee knew it hit the ground, and he was right. Eagles' next drive, Adebo had a pass interference on Devontae Smith. To me, it looked like good defense, but when they showed the replay, the ball was underthrown, which when you underthrow passes, a lot of times quarterbacks get rewarded with, pass interference calls. And maybe Adebo had his left hand like grabbing the collar of Devontae Smith. Like, that was the one thing I saw, but watching it on TV live, it looked like a good play. It looked like he just got his right arm in there and knocked the ball away, but after replay, it was like, yeah, maybe he was grabbing him a bit. I get it. Then they started running a bunch of soft coverages. There was basically 2 dump-offs that picked up 10-plus yards. There was one to Dallas Goedert, one to Devontae Smith. As Philly was approaching the end zone, the refs picked up a flag on Adebo for possible illegal contact. The Giants might have gotten away with one there, so I'll take it. Then Cordell Flott has the big interception. Jalen Hurts was going for the out route, threw it too far inside. Flott intercepts it and runs it back to the Philly 23-yard line. And as I said, that was the first interception in 305 pass attempts for Jalen Hurts. That was the longest active streak in the NFL. Giants' next drive, Illuminor has the false start to make it 2nd and 12. Then they take a deep shot to Hyatt. He nearly caught it one-handed, but Keely Ringo pass interference. Giants get the ball at the 1. Cam Scatterbo scores his 3rd touchdown of the game to make it 34-17 Giants. A.J. Dillon on the ensuing kickoff has the ball hit out of him out of bounds, so a rough kickoff return game for Philly. Okereke had some good coverage on Dallas Goedert going out of bounds. He forced an incompletion. They had a swing pass to Saquon, which went nowhere. Then the Eagles had a 4th and 4 from their own 11-yard line. They had to go for it. They did get it. They picked up 10 yards or so with Devontae Smith coming back to the ball. Then Dallas Goedert got wide-ass open. It looked like cover 3 from the replay, but he gained 36 yards. Then A.J. Dillon catches a dump-off up the middle, and Dane Belton punches the ball out as Dillon dives forward. His knee did not hit the ground yet, so that was a fumble recovered by Drew Phillips. And at that point, 34-17, fourth quarter, you just got the ball back again. You're thinking this game's pretty much over. Cam Skadaboo out of I formation had a couple nice runs for 18 yards, had one for 11 yards. Then there was the Skadaboo play-action dump-off pass where he caught a first down, then got penalized for taunting. I was like, all right, whatever, fine. Then Skadaboo had a 10-yard run on 1st and 10, so another first down. And that was it. The Giants were 2-1 in the Jaxson Dart era. They had the fluke loss against the Saints, which still bothers me. Then I saw, this is some extra stuff I wrote down or some extra stuff I put in my notes section. I saw this Dan Schneier tweet. He said, insane stat from the Prime Crew. This was the first time in 81 games, the 2020 season, that the Giants scored more than 7 points in the first quarter, which is a very hard stat to believe, but I believe Dan. And yeah, this is another one. This was a Justin Pennick tweet. And it was a 1st and 10. This was like a good replay. They might have had this game, a prime vision angle. So this is like an all 22 type angle. But it was a 1st and 10, second quarter, Giants up by 3. And they had A.J. Brown in the slot. Jalen Hurts is in shotgun by himself. And Dallas Goedert is to the left of A.J. Brown. And A.J. Brown just runs a quick out route and just with ease picks up a first down. Maybe not a first down. He was like a yard short, but he picked up 9 yards on this play. And stuff like this with Shane Bowen that pisses me off. You don't need to play 10 yards off every single time. It's a 3-point game. They're about to score a touchdown. They're on the 12-yard line, and you have your slot corner playing 8 yards off of A.J. Brown, who just has to run a simple out route, and that's just an easy pitch and catch. I just don't get that. So Justin Pennick tweeted that one out, was not a fan of Shane Bowen there. And here's the stat. So Jaxson Dart and Pat Mahomes are the only quarterbacks since at least 1991 to lead their team to an opening drive touchdown in each of their first 3 starts. And you see Jaxson Dart's name next to all these other names, whether it was the rushing stat next to Jalen Hurts and Lamar Jackson, you see Patrick Mahomes, and you realize this kid is doing some special things, and this is without his wide receiver 1. Even his wide receiver 2 now is out with Darius Slayton, who was god-awful last week. So this was a fun game. I had a good time watching this one. It was great to see Jalen Hurts come out here and play. He looked good in the first half, I gotta say, but then he came out in the second half, overthrew Devontae Smith, and I feel like they never recovered from that. And then they get away from Saquon Barkley, who on the first 2 plays had 29 rushing yards, and I'm thinking, here we go, Saquon gonna run for 150 yards today. And they kind of get away from that. I know they have to worry about A.J. Brown being a diva and things like that, but I feel like from the second quarter on, they were passing the ball way more than they had to, or way more than they should have, which I think honestly helped the Giants. And now we see the Eagles, who had not lost back-to-back games in 2 years. They lose 2 in a row. And yeah, I don't want to sit here and say Jaxson Dart is the next superstar quarterback, but I gotta say, I feel really good about him now. I think there's definitely a chance the guy's a top 10 quarterback one day, which is pretty much when you're drafting a quarterback, that's what you're worried about, is can this guy compete with the big dogs? Obviously the AFC has a lot of the big dogs, like the Lamar Jacksons, the Pat Mahomeses, the Josh Allens, Justin Herbert, but even in the NFC, you still have some damn good quarterbacks in this conference too. So yeah, once again, I liked Dart in the pre-draft process. I just probably was too low on him though. I thought he was a great guy to take in early round 2 and thought hey, this guy throws a pretty ball and has a great throwing motion and has low-key athleticism. But I never thought, especially with Neighbors out, that he would be this good. It's just a pleasant surprise, and so far I'm very happy with what we've seen. And who knows what this amounts to. I mean, the Giants, once again, as we said last week, they have a very tough schedule coming up. At Denver next week, we know that. We know at Philly after. The Giants haven't won there in 12 years. So these games won't be easy, but I do think they'll at least compete. And if Dart stays healthy, which I have my concerns because he's running so much and he has the hamstring thing going on, I feel like as long as he's healthy, the Giants will be fiery. They'll stay in games. They'll give teams a run for their money even when they're big underdogs. So as long as he's healthy, I think we'll see some entertaining football. And I think the only part that sucks is that they were not able to win last week or even against Dallas, because they can really be minimum going 3-3, and I think really they could have been 4-2. So at 2-4, I mean, yeah, it's tough to rebound and take your season back, but I guess crazier things have happened, and I feel like, as I said before to start this video, this could have been a culture-changing type of win. Not saying it means they'll make the playoffs this year, but I think tonight showed at least me and I think a lot of other people that this Jaxson Dart thing is for real. This isn't like some Tommy DeVito shit. This isn't like Linsanity or anything like that. Like this kid is actually really freaking good. And I saw about 4 or 5 plays tonight, and even like him just pre-diagnosing what the defense was going to do and have an answer for it. Seeing all those things and the way he was locating his passes and the way he was running around the pocket, getting away from pass rushers. And I know New York sports has been so bad for a long time, and I know Philadelphia sports has been pretty damn good recently, but to think of today, just today, for Eagles fans and Phillies fans, and I guess maybe Sixers fans, I don't know what they have going on right now, but for the Eagles to lose this game where they were over touchdown favorites to the Giants, who, once again, their wide receiver one is Wan'Dale Robinson, like that was a rough look. And then you had the Phillies game in LA where Orion Kerkering could have sent the game to the 12th inning and throws the ball over the catcher's head, and the Philly season ends on that. So for a fan base like Philly that they always tend to win, it was great to see a night like this, but I can't really say too much because of how the Yankees went out yesterday, but we're not going to talk about that. So anyway, yeah, I think that's pretty much what I had to say. I'm sure this was a long reaction, but yeah, this was a great game. It was fun, and as I said, maybe my favorite win in a very long time. And I'm excited to see where this Jaxson Dart thing takes us the rest of the year. I have no idea what's going to happen. It seems like the Giants are just content on keeping these guys at wide receiver and not really bringing anybody else in. I know the Giants are last right now in salary cap, so they don't have too much room to bring somebody in, but there's always a way. I mean, yeah, you can probably cut Graham Gano, you can trade a veteran. It seems like Russell Wilson has no value on this team. And that was weird how the Bengals got Joe Flacco but did not check in on Jameis or Russ, according to Diana Rossini. So I'm not sure why the Bengals went that route, but I don't think Flacco is like that much better than Jake Browning, but I guess that's a wait and see. Anyway, look, tonight was good. The Giants might only win 4 or 5 games this year, but we'll look back on this night and say that was a great time. That was fun, and now we get to sit back and enjoy this win for the next 10 days as we enjoy this long week, and we can chill out on Sunday and watch some Red Zone and hopefully win our fantasy matchups and whatnot. I will say I sadly started the Eagles in a couple matchups tonight in fantasy. They got me like 0 points, but still, it was worth it. It was a fun game to watch, and it's one of those things where like I didn't think of it until like the fourth quarter. I was like, oh shit, I started the Eagles twice. Like that's not good. But when you're in the midst of it watching the game, it's like, oh man, this is a good time. So yeah, I will take that performance any day. Like 34 points against this team. You'll take it. And I really did not expect much once again. I really thought the Giants would come into this game and lose like 27-10. I just never thought they would score 34. But when you play an all-around great game like that and the Eagles were making mistakes of their own, whether it was on kickoffs or the Jalen Hurts interception or the A.J. Dillon fumble, and then of course your own mistakes and missing Devontae Smith on the 90-yard touchdown, you get enough of those things to go against you, and this is the final score you're going to get. Just don't know why they had to fumble 5 times against the Saints, but I don't want to talk about it. It's in the past, but it's frustrating now looking back on it. So anyway, yeah, that's going to do it. I guess leave in the comments your reaction. Is Jaxson Dart that guy? Are you sold? I mean, I'm pretty sold. I mean, we'll see what happens the rest of the year, but I'm feeling pretty damn good right now. So seems like the Giants got their guy, and let's hope he stays healthy and keeps it going. So hope you all enjoyed, and I'll talk to you guys next time.